Direct Healthcare Professional Communication, or DHPC, in pharmacovigilance. A DHPC should be designated in the following situations: suspension, withdrawal, or revocation of marketing authorization with recall of medicinal products from the marketing for safety reasons, an important change to the product information, in particular restriction of an indication, new contraindication, change in the recommendation dose, major warning or precaution for use. Okay, if we have a suspension, withdrawal, or revocation of the marketing authorization with a recall of the medicinal product from the market for safety reasons, if we have an important change to the product information, in particular restriction of an indication, if we have a new contraindication, if we have a change in the recommendation dose, if we have a major warning or precaution for use, if we have a restriction in availability which impact on the medicinal products current use by patient and healthcare professionals, we should write a DHPC. It means direct healthcare professional communication. A change in the risk-benefit balance of a medicinal product following, for example, new data identifying a previously unknown. Okay, if we have a change in the risk-benefit balance of a medicinal product following, for example, a new data identifying a previously unknown risk, or a change in the frequency or severity or a known risk, sustained knowledge that the medicinal product is not as effective as previously considered, we should write a direct. Okay, again, you see, we should write a DHPC if we have a suspension, withdrawal, or revocation, an important change to the product information, contraindication, we have a restriction of an indication, we have a major warning or precaution, restriction in availability, we have a change in the risk-benefit balance, we have a new data identifying, we have a substantive knowledge that the medicinal product is not as effective as previously considered. New recommendation for treating or preventing adverse reaction. New recommendation. What is the new recommendation? That is, in this case, we should write the DHPC. Ongoing assessment of an important potential risk for which data available at a particular point in time are insufficient to take regulatory action in this case. The DHPC should encourage close monitoring of the safety concern in clinical practice and encourage reporting and possibility provide information on how to minimize the potential risk. Document in lay language. For example, using a question and answers format. The recommendation for risk minimization. Useful for people who have an interest in the subject but do not have a scientific or regulatory background. Official language we should have, and patient and HCP healthcare professionals should be involved in preparing lay language. Document in lay language, for example, using question and answer formats. The recommendation for risk minimization and using for people who have an interest in the subjects. It should be useful for people. It should have official language. UCLA Food and Drug Allergy Care Centers frequently ask questions, drug allergy and question answers. How can I find out what drug I am allergic to? For example, this is a difficult question to answer, but it's one example of the DHCP. Press communication. It's directly to journalists. Ensures that journalists receive information that is consistent with the authorities' scientific assessment and broader audience we have. in the website for those who want to actively searching the internet should be found easily via search. If we have a communication via the website, we should easily via the search found it. And for those who want to actively searching via the internet, it should be communicated. Other web communication, for example, social network, and keep up to date. Bulletin and newsletter. Regular interval we should have and new information. Responding to inquiries from the public, for example, DPI unit, and questions related to individual treatment advice should be referred to a healthcare professional. Other means of communication: publication in scientific journal, HCP guide, and patient alert cards. Effectiveness of safety communication. Safety communication is considered effective when the transmitted message is received and understood by the target audience in the way it was intended, and appropriate action is taken by the target audience. Effectiveness of safety communication. Safety communication is considered effective when the transmitted message is received and understood by the target audience in the way it was intended, and appropriate action is taken by the target audience. A research-based approach should be used in order to establish that safety communication have met the standard. This approach may measure different outcomes, including behavior, attitude, and knowledge. A research-based approach should be used in order to establish that safety communications have met the standard. This approach may measure different outcomes, including behavior, attitude, and knowledge. The template for direct healthcare professionals communication. Heading with the main message, for example, introduction of warning or contraindication. Dear healthcare providers, Company X would like to inform you of the following. Summary: a brief description of the safety concern, recommendation for risk minimization, for example, contraindication, warning, precaution of use, and if applicable, switch to alternative treatment. Recall information, if applicable, for example, pharmacy or patient level, date of recall. A style guide, the summary section should be in larger font size than the other sections of the DHPC and preferably in bullet points. A statement indications that the information is being sent in agreement with the national competent authority if applicable. Further information on the safety concerns and the recommendation. Important details about the safety concerns, adverse reaction, seriousness, a statement on the suspected causal relationship, for example, the pharmacodynamic mechanism, temporal relationship, positive re-challenge or the challenge, risk factors, also indicating the reason for the disseminating the DHPC at the point in time. Further information on the safety concerns at the recommendation. If needed, details on the recommendation for risk minimization, placing of the risk in the context of the benefit, and estimation of the frequency of the adverse reaction or reporting rates with estimated patient exposure. A statement indicating any association between the adverse reaction and off-label use. If applicable, a schedule for follow-up actions by the marketing authorization holder and competent authority if applicable. we should have a schedule, we should have a statement indicating, we should have an estimation of frequency of adverse reaction, and we should have a placing of the risk in the context. Link and reference to the other available relevant information, such as information on the website of a competent authority. Call for reporting. A reminder of the need and how to report adverse reaction in accordance with the national spontaneous reporting systems. Detail, name, postal address, fax number, website address, on how to access the national spontaneous reporting system. Company contact point. Contact point for access for further information, including relevant website address, telephone number, and the postal address. Annexes. Text of the revised product information with the change made visible, if applicable. Detailed scientific information if necessary. List of literature references if applicable. Summary. Our communication must be strong and visible, be precisely targeted and tested, change attitude, values, and behavior, be followed up and revised, embrace modern standards and skills. Have a good time.